What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Joenojoseph back at it again with another one. Today we're about to check out this Logan Paul, kind of like I want to say it was like a suicide intervention or like more like an awareness video, kind of, to get people to kind of get back on his good graces. This is the first PR stunt since he's pretty much come back into the spotlight. And of course, nobody's allowing him to make that happen. But it's okay. Let's check out the video and then we'll talk about that at the end. $800,000.
40 minutes.
That's crazy.
Crying like a baby. Bikers, joggers, tourists, runners, they went by me. Police officers searching for suicidal people went by me twice. I'm standing at the ledge, leaning over the rail with tears flowing down to the waters. And I thought to myself, absolutely nobody cares. And then the voice in my head said, jump now, and I did. And the millisecond that my hands cleared the rail and my legs flew over it was an instant regret. The depression was wiped from my mind, and all I wanted to do was live, and I thought it's too late.
So, like, since he doesn't have a YouTube Red series anymore, is he will, like, make a Red series about him, like, going around to different people who have, like, attempted and failed suicide and, like, I guess try to learn more about it, I guess? It's a good first start.
Kevin Hines was 19 when he jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. He is one of the many incredible people that I've been grateful to meet over the past 3 weeks as I aim to further understand the complexities surrounding suicide. And I know I've made mistakes. I know I've let people down. But what happens when you're given an opportunity to help make a difference in the world?
The backlash against the social media star.
Oh man, this is what I was seeing. So I was seeing a bunch of like clips and like pictures where people were posting stuff saying like, oh, like he put a bunch of like B-roll pretty much, which is like all this stuff, which is like just the filler for like when either like, transition or if somebody's like talking over it to pretty much just, set the stage. And it's like I understand where he's coming from for like a movie maker point. He's like kind of making it more, but I feel like it should have been more raw and just like himself instead of him making it like a whole like big movie piece, I don't know.
Very popular guy called
Logan Paul is in some hot
He's
water.
a complete and utter insensitive idiot.
Taking a break from daily vlogging.
Even he says his latest content was his biggest mistake.
I want to apologize to the victim and his family.
It's time to learn from the past as I get better and grow as a human being. I'm here to have a hard conversation so that those who are suffering can have easier ones.
So I've never been so humbled in my life by a single event.
Were you kind of shocked by it?
I was shocked to discover just how big this is.
You've never known anybody that killed themselves?
No one. And that was part of the problem. It's just my ignorance on the subject.
But in Ohio, where you come from, it's the second leading cause of death.
And I know while I'm not able to solve the problem by myself, I want to be a part of the solution.
And that solution began across the country in New York City. We sat down with Dr. John Draper, director of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
We have to change the conversation publicly from just focusing on suicide and how something bad is happening and say, well, what do we do about it? Help people understand that the first thing they need to do is reach out and talk to somebody when they're feeling in despair. Because you're not alone with it anymore. They've done studies with people who are experiencing any kind of pain, including hanging off a cliff. You can hold on a lot longer if somebody is right there with you.
I think as a society, as human beings, we just have to be more compassionate. And that includes me too. That's something I'm learning.
Okay, I get the whole like B-roll clip thing, it's kind of, it's like, I see where people are coming from, it's like, this is the kind of person he is, so it's like, this is how he's always chosen and reacted to everything, and it's like, this being such a big situation, he can't really react to it in that way. I think people were looking for him to come back and like, with like a new outlook towards everything, like a new way of showing it to try to like, or a new way of trying to express himself, and doing this, like, maybe in those little clips of like him driving the car or like the clips where he was sitting there, you know, at the train station or at the bus station or plane or whatever the heck he was, he should have probably had like the clips be of the guy who was explaining that he had failed suicide, you know, instead of being about him. I don't know. You can never please people, you know what I mean? But it's like when you're in a business where everything about people is what kind of makes your money and is the whole driving factor behind your business, and you kind of have to. That's kind of the way you have to take things
along this journey. And something else that Dr. Draper told me were the 5 steps that anyone can take to help prevent suicide. Step 1 is simply just ask. Ask yourself, ask others, are you thinking about suicide? And I know that sounds like a daunting question, but literally that question can save lives. And step 2, accordingly, would be just to listen. Be present, don't make any judgments, and then step 3 would be there for them, even after you've already asked, because dependability is key. Step 4 is then help them connect. Whether it's with a friend, a family member, a local suicide hotline, therapist, but help them reach out to someone so they don't have to deal with this alone. Lastly, step 5 is just check in on them, show them that you care. Call them up, say, hey, I want to make sure you're okay. Can I check in with you over the next few days?
So one of the things that is so important about reducing stigma is getting stories out there about people positively coping with suicide.
Do you guys know anyone I could talk to with the lived experience of suicide?
Absolutely. We have quite a number of people that we could refer over to. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And that's how we got introduced to Kevin Hines.
Oh, this is like a backstory to how he met that guy.
Golden Gate Bridge and survived.
These are individuals whose stories, when people hear them, they say, you know, maybe I can get through. As opposed to hearing stories when people haven't. And those are, unfortunately, those are stories that we've heard before. Now we're hearing more and more stories of people being more open about it. And as I was saying before, Logan, for every one person that dies by suicide, there's 287 other people that think seriously about it but don't. Those are stories, again, that have not been told. If we told those stories of people who got through it as opposed to one who didn't, imagine what kind of influence that would have on people's behavior.
When I found out that 1 in 6 high school kids seriously think about suicide, that's stunning.
Yeah.
This is such a common problem.
Logan, all I wanted was for one person to look me in my eyes and say, hey, kid, are you okay? I am so grateful to be alive. And I'm grateful today
like this
for
whole
every
like
millisecond I get to breathe.
Dang, that sucks.
Because it was almost all ripped.
You can't really get mad at the B-roll, man. It's like this is the same reason that you connect so hard to all of these like A&E documentaries and like stuff about the killer and like all of this stuff, like all of that stuff. It's the same reason why you connect, because they have to, you know, you got to be put. All of those little things are what help you, you know what I mean, connect to the person and what help you kind of get slower and slower, get it more, dive deeper and deeper into the mood, I guess you'd say. So it's like you can't really be mad at him for expressing himself in that way, I guess you'd say. So it's like. It just doesn't really make sense.
For me, by me.
What's one thing you would have said to your younger self? To the Kevin who was 19, sitting on the bus, if you were next to you, and instead of the guy who pointed and laughed, what would you say?
I would just put my hand on the I would just put my hand on my shoulder and I would just say, I'm here for you. I got you. We need to be a society that comes together for every person in the community that's going through hell. And in order to do that, every person that's going through hell, whatever hell, has to be honest about their pain. And if they're going to be honest about their pain, we are going to collectively answer the call and be there for that individual. Because if you don't see beauty in the next person you meet, you're not looking hard enough.
Damn, that's crazy. Fact.
You're incredible, dude. This is an honor for me.
It's an honor for me too, brother.
From this point on, I want to make an effort to contribute and immerse myself in the conversation, so I'm pledging to donate $1 million to various suicide prevention organizations, with the first $250,000 going immediately to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline so they can increase their capacity to help those in need.
For anyone watching, I want you to know you are not alone, and most of the time, crisis passes. So if you or anyone you know feels alone or trapped, I encourage anyone to call or even text a suicide or crisis hotline. Both of those numbers are below, and although this is a tough conversation, it's important because things can and will get better. It's time to start a new chapter in my life as I continue to educate both myself and others on suicide. I'm humbled and thankful to say, This is just the beginning.
It's like parts of me wishes that he kind of, just used an iPhone and just did this himself and didn't really pay that much attention to like all the the value behind it, But I mean, he did monetize it, so you can't be mad there. And he's actually one of my favorite content creators. One of the people who kind of made me really want to step into the space. And it's like he made probably one of like the best videos that he's made in a while and put it towards this, as like a first step. He's like, I guess it sucks when everybody tells you that you're wrong for something, and I've been in that situation that when you're wrong or that you did something wrong or in any type of way like that, and you don't actually understand why they feel the way they feel. Like no matter how many times they tell you, you don't really see it. Like you don't really see it. And I mean, I understand that. So it's like people are going to get mad that his first step was to, okay, now let me go, behind the situation and try and, combat it like this. Like, let me go ahead and step towards all the people who, who have like gone through it. Let me try and see what's going on. Let me try and educate myself a little bit more on the situation itself of suicide rather than looking at why people are mad that he just showed a dead body on camera. Because I mean, honestly, the first I didn't even understand it until I saw that people were like, oh, like, could you imagine like someone, like the first time you seeing that your loved one or someone committed suicide was in a YouTube video that someone else posted online, and you just so happened to see it, not being in that whole mood, looking at him like they're laughing, they're about to do a overnight challenge in the woods, you know what I mean? It just so happens that these woods are haunted, or that in some way they've said that, people have gone missing and things like that, and it's like, you're not even in that mindset to actually see that or even come across that, and then all of a sudden that happens. Like, I can only imagine what I would think, and like what I can just only imagine what I would feel like, you know what I mean? But I can honestly say that this is a good comeback for him, and I really hope that he actually takes this as a good comeback and doesn't F up like that anymore, honestly. Like, oh man, I love the guy, man. I want to see him succeed. I want to see everybody succeed, and I feel like we gotta stop being so hard on people when it comes to the path of like, or when it comes to like them trying to change. We gotta stop making the change so hard. But I understand why, you know what I'm saying? I understand why people try to make it so hard, because if it was easy, then everybody would just fake it till they make it. You know what I mean? And it's like, I see him as a genuine person. You know what I mean? I see him as somebody who genuinely cares about people and genuinely cares, what they think or how it goes. Like a lot of the jokes that he made, going through the whole Japanese vlog and being in Japan and just going through all that stuff and seeing how people were saying he disrespected the country and stuff like that. All the stuff that he did is stuff that shit I'd want to go see. Like even the video where I saw where he asked the waitress lady to say Pikachu, like that's something I would want. That's definitely something I would want to see. Like even when I go up to a person who has a lisp and I'm like, say slippery Sunday, you know what I mean? It's just like an old joke that people used to say, and I've never actually been able to hear somebody say it. But dang, I want to find somebody with a lisp and ask them to say slippery Sunday. But like I don't know, man. The world is weird, man. It's 2018. People take things differently. You can't really do anything without someone being offended. And I mean, you really couldn't do that back in the day. You could do that back in the day, but because the internet didn't exist and it wasn't so easy for people to see things and get a hold of things and things to spread so far, that all of these things weren't really brought up. You know what I mean? So I hate when people say that, like, oh, this wasn't going on back in the day. It was going on back in the day, but there just wasn't enough eyes around for it to actually be like, shucks, man. Back in the day, I feel like when there really weren't that many like cops and things like that, like it was worse than what it is now. Like it just so happens that people don't know exactly all of the things that were going on. You know what I mean? That's why stories from old people are so awesome, because like you get to hear stuff that literally no one else has heard besides them and their immediate group of people that they hang out with. So just, I don't know, but there's my take, man. I'm back. Get ready.